there's been a lot of talk in the Philippines lately whether or not Duterte's been working for China, and it's been talking along the people. And there's been a lot of concern because some of the stuff that he's saying has been really suspicious, and there's been a lot of reports going on. So this story is just about what's being reported. I'm not going to give my personal opinion because, the problems that can happen. But basically, Carpio refused to Duterte, says Hague Tribunal heard China's position. So basically, in his last State of the Union, address, Duterte basically said that, hey, you know what, maybe the Philippine Sea is not ours, maybe it belongs to China, that the ruling, they didn't hear out China's side of things. So once again, Duterte's been sticking up for China. So China was given all the opportunity by arbitral tribunal to present its side, says retired Supreme Court Justice Antonio Carpio, right? So retired Supreme Court Justice debunked President Rodrigo Duterte's claim. So this was already debunked from the get-go. Basically, the West Philippines supposedly, because China's position was not heard by the Hague Tribunal. This is totally false. July 28th, during the opposition coalition's panel discussed 2 days after Duterte's deliver. So there was already a panel to talk about this. It was already proven false. So basically, China was heard. They actually wrote a paper to the tribunal before the decision was made. But there's other suspicious activities where Duterte has made pro-Chinese comments that have gone against the Philippine people. And sometimes some people around my neighborhood are wondering that if Duterte is trying to run for Chinese president next election, right? So we'll get into what's happening, some of the things that has been said. So one of the stories that's been going on, or what's been happening for the last 10 years, maybe more, is that Chinese fishing boats are having a hard time fishing their own waters. Sometimes the Chinese Coast Guard, Chinese Navy have flat out sunk ships. So Chinese vessel mainly to blame for sinking a Philippine boat. But Filipino crew had deficiencies, right? So basically, the boat was rammed, but they're saying that maybe if the boat was up to date, that it would have survived and all this other craziness. So the Philippine ship did not have a proper lookout and had too many crew aboard. Another reason they're trying to say, which is probably true, right? But just to sit there and make excuses for a Chinese ship, it's suspicious. A leak reported into June 9th ramming and sinking a Philippine vessel. Disputed South China Sea has found a Chinese vessel involved mainly at fault for the incident, and it failed to appropriate action to avoid a risk of collision. So basically, they saw the Philippine fishing boat, and they chose to ram it anyway, right? This happens all the time. And what was said in the incident was very serious, and you can read the rest of it yourself. But basically, this happens all the time, but the Philippine government, Duterte, said, well, it was our fault. We're sorry that you ran into us, kind of thing. And it's just another suspicious thing. So, Duterte said that the arbitrary win for China is just a piece of paper. It's trash to be thrown away, which is not. He's the only one saying that, and unfortunately, he's the president. So, I'm sorry about all these advertisements. It's crazy, right? President Rodrigo Duterte on Wednesday called the country's arbitrary victory, this happened May 6th, against China's claims in the West Philippine Sea, a piece of paper that he can throw away in a trash can. In a second late-night address this week, Duterte said the ruling, affirming the Philippines' sovereign rights in this exclusive economic zone, is just a piece of paper that led to nothing. So basically, he's saying, yeah, we won against the international court, but you know what? It's just a piece of paper. Let's just have the Chinese come in here and fish, right? So some of the reports coming out of China now and other news agencies is that some of the Chinese officials, some of the congressmen over there saying, yeah, it's just a piece of paper. They can ignore it. They're literally bragging about the Duterte throwing a piece of paper away. So Del Rosrisa bears Chinese brag about influence to Duterte's election. And apparently this has been verified by a few people. This has actually been verified where they've actually talked to the Chinese officials. Yeah, we said this. So let's read this one. This is one of the first articles that came out, okay? The former Philippine Secretary Albert Del Rizzo said the information comes from highly trustworthy international institutions. Former Philippine Foreign Secretary Albert Del Rizzo bared on Monday, July 12th, that the senior Chinese officials have boasted about their influence over 2016 Philippine elections, where President Rodrigo Duterte won landslide victory. Del Rodrigo, who was a Philippine ambassador to U.S. before becoming a foreign secretary, said the information came from the most reliable international entity. It is undisclosed source, which later described as a highly trustworthy international institution. So apparently the Chinese are already laughing and bragging about owning the Duterte, right? So basically, this is a video. It's going to take a while to load because I won't play the video. I'll just leave a link in the description. Basically, he said that there's been reports that the Chinese are now drilling for oil in Philippine territory without permission, right? And Duterte apparently said that if this is true, he'd send his warships out there. Now, normally he's pro-Chinese. I don't know why he would flip on that, but I'm not going to argue with it because that's what you should do as a president. So basically, we already having reports, and some congressmen want to look into it and create a, a group of people just to go out and they want to verify this. But additionally to the Chinese already drilling oil in the West Philippine Sea, there's other additional problems too. There was American satellites that already verified the story. That they zoomed down, you can literally see the human waste being dumped from the Chinese ships, and it's completely destroyed the coral, and it's creating an algae over there that's causing all kinds of problems. So this story has already been verified by the Americans, right? So China can expect harsh words if proven to be dumped human waste in the Filipino Sea. Oh yeah, harsh words. That'll get it done. Oh, that's big of you, harsh words. Yeah, I'm sure they'll listen. So this is the satellite imaging already from America where they can spot the human waste in the West Coral Sea. I mean the corals in the West Filipino Sea. So China can expect harsh words. And a report about the supposedly dumping of human waste in the West Filipino Sea is true. President spokesman Harry Rogue, which is a joke. Well, I never met anybody. Matter of fact, he qualifies to work for Trump. I'll just put it that way. Maintain that the government has always been against the entity of garbage from other countries. He cited the Duterte's administration decision to return containers of garbage sent by Canada. And that was true. That was true. He threatened to declare war against Canada for sending garbage, but he won't do nothing about China being in their own territory, right? So the last A&M report here is that some people have already starting to say that the Philippines is a province of China. There's been some manufacturers here when they build stuff here or they sell stuff here, like a shampoo company that was that got booted. They're already printing that the Philippines is a province of China. Wikipedia is already saying that which is not a really good source, but they were basically saying Philippines is a province of China. And the way that Duterte's acting and some of the stuff that he's been saying, some of the stuff that he's been doing, this is part of the problem when you don't think before you speak, right? So Duterte jokes, why not make the Philippines a province of China? That was back in 18. Ever since then, that's actually what's been happening, right? Duterte, I really do think personally, if I had one opinion on this, if I'm not just reporting on what's being said, if I was to take a linear approach and a logical approach, it would seem that the Duterte would want the Philippines to be more like China in some sense. Now, Philippines protest China's creation of new districts in South China Sea. Another thing that China has done is they've already renamed all the corals, named all the locations to Chinese names. They renamed everything. They've totally disrespected the Philippines in that, right? So Duterte has chosen province of China. There's just a lot of reports going out that the Philippines is now a province of China. And the way that Duterte's acting, throwing out the piece of paper, making arguments in favor of China, you can see easily why people are starting to say this. And one of the concerns that people are having is Sarah Duterte, his daughter, that might be running. That's his daughter. She's going to run for president here soon. And some people are wondering if Chinese are going to influence her too, because they've already influenced her father. They've already bragging about they already control the Duterte. And the Duterte is extremely weak, knee paddock stance when it comes to Chinese ships in the West Philippine Sea, when Filipino fishermen are being attacked, when a coral reef's being attacked, when China's drilling in the West Philippine Sea, the Duterte has done nothing. And please keep in mind, when you see Philippine Coast Guard out there, they're not out there on the Duterte's orders. They're out there on the Philippine commander's orders. There's been stories about how the Navy, the Air Force, and they're not communicating real well. That there's a breakdown in the palace, right? And that's another story you can look on your own. So basically, Philippines might be in trouble if Sarah Duterte runs. I don't recommend voting for her, but you're free to vote for who you want. But personally, the Filipinos really need to gut check themselves on this next election, man. They really, really do. Anyway, this is Joe's Corner. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Hopefully, this can at least inform you of some of the problems that are going on. Have a nice day.